A lot of these poems are obviously about power and conflict. Many of them center around wars. This is another dramatic monologue by a contemporary poet, Simon Armitage, great poet. This because what he did was he interviewed a lot of soldiers about their experiences. This is an experience in the Iraq, the invasion, the US invasion of Iraq, I believe in 2004, following from 9/11 and the invasion of Afghanistan. This was another war on the premise that the Iraqis had weapons of mass destruction, and it was invasion, overthrow of the government, and occupation. And what this poem captures is the idea of trauma, of what it means to invade, what it means to kill, what it means to kill and suspecting that you weren't justified in that killing. And what I think a lot of what this poem accrues is this guilt, is this fear of what does it mean that we've invaded Iraq. And the remains here, the double meaning might be the remains as in the body remains, the corpse, but also the remains as in the residue and the memory of trauma that maintains itself within us. On another occasion, I mean, again, it's so nice. Like this person's in the middle of a conversation. It's a nice, it's like bayonet charge. It's in medias res, it's called. It's a nice feeling. We get sent out to tackle looters raiding a bank, and one of them legs it up the road, probably armed, possibly not. Probably, okay, it's likely, but there is the actual potential that he might not be, and this involves doubt right from the start. Well, myself and somebody else are all of the same mind, so all three of us open fire. Three of a kind, all letting fly. I swear. I see every round as it rips through his life. Okay, these verbs are these idioms. He's like basically unloading everything. He's letting the bullets fly. This metaphor is worse because the bullets are ripping through his flesh, but the metaphor is his actual life. And not only that, the literal is that you can see broad daylight on the other side of him. So this is a brutal, violent image, and now we see why it's important if he's armed or not. So we've hit this looter a dozen times, and he's there on the ground, sort of inside out image is blunt and grotesque. Pain itself, the image of agony. We've seen this kind of language before. This is itself what agony is. One of my mates goes by and tosses his guts back into his body. I don't know what to make of that image. So gross. So blunt and brutal. Is it uncaring? I don't know. And he's carted off in the back of a lorry. End of story. Except not really. This is an important point in the poem. It's conversational, you should notice. This is what it means to be a dramatic monologue. His blood shadow. Blood shadow. Wow. Stays on the street, and on patrol I walk right over it, week by week. The repetition of this suggests trauma to me. Continually coming back to the place, particularly where his blood shadow is. But I blink and he bursts again through the doors of the bank. He relives the memory, the event. Sleep, and he's probably armed, possibly not. Dream, and he's torn apart by a dozen rounds. Traumatic replay. imagery of killing this guy, and the drink and the drugs won't flush him out. Whereas before you flush out the enemy to pull them away, now he's trying to dump, evade, tease the trauma, but he won't. Like the drugs, the alcohol, he's still not getting rid of it. He's here in my head when I close my eyes, dug in behind enemy lines, not left for dead in some distant, sun-stunned, sand-smothered land, or 6 feet under in desert sand, but near to the knuckle, here and now. There versus here. The trauma memory is relived in the present. His bloody life in my bloody hands. This swear into this reality. Bloody, guilty. It makes me think of Macbeth. This idea that he is responsible. And you really see that in this poem, that it's the need to think that he was armed, the need to justify what he's done, and the horror, the continuing horror of what it means to have killed someone. It's worth thinking about that. How does killing actually affect a soldier? And that's an internal conflict as well as an external one.